live. If you're still following with me, if you're still tracking with me, there's got to be a question that's in your heart, which is, Ajay, no matter what you say, commands restrict, laws confine, rules restrain. They never set anyone free. They're like iron bars. They're oppressive. They keep us in place. I've never felt the commands to be freeing. Let me give you an example. A professor of mine would tell the story, he's an older man, of how he and his wife would go to play tennis. They were much older, and so they weren't really playing for the sport of it. They just wanted to get their heart rate up and keep in shape. And so when my professor and his wife played, it didn't really matter how the game was played. It didn't really matter if the ball hit once or twice or 3 times, as long as you could do what? Hit it back and forth to each other, because all you were doing was trying to get exercise. And when he and his wife played, it didn't matter if the ball hit the net or bounced over the net, because you just had to hit it back and forth to each other. And when they played, it didn't matter if the ball fell out of the bounds marker, because all they were doing was trying to hit it back and forth to each other. Say my professor went to the US Open and saw Roger Federer playing. And say Federer hits a shot down the line and it misses by that much. And he's frustrated and he throws the racket and he's clenching his fists and he's so angry. And say at that moment, my professor calls him over and says, "Son, come here, listen." And says to him, "Listen, my wife and I, we play tennis all the time. And when we play, it doesn't matter if the ball hits once or twice or 3 times. And it doesn't matter if it hits the net, and it doesn't matter if it goes out of bounds. So relax, enjoy the game." What would Federer say? He would say, I don't know what it is you and your wife play, but it's not tennis, right? Because what makes tennis tennis is the boundaries and the net and the rules. It's what frees a player to play the game. It's the out-of-bounds lines and the end zone that lets a football player play the game as it was meant to be played. You could set a train free by leaving it on the beach and not restraining it to the tracks, but it would never go anywhere. It would never do the thing for which it was made to do. No, a train is most free when you confine it to the tracks. When you restrain it to the rails, then it is free to fly, to do what it was designed to do. God's laws are given so that we might actually live life to the fullest. Enjoy life in the way that God had designed us to enjoy it, so that we could stop drinking from toilets, but enjoy living water found only in Christ, satisfying most fully in Him. Jesus hates religion because religion keeps the commandments but hates them. Jesus hates religion because religion pays attention to the details but misses the point. Look at verses 23 to 24. He says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness. These you ought to have done without neglecting the others. You blind guides, straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel." Jesus hates religion because religion pays attention to the details but misses the point. Religion sees the trees but misses the forest. Here's what Jesus was saying. Jesus was saying, you Pharisees, here's what you do. You tithe mint and dill and cumin. You go into your mother's kitchen cabinet and you check out what dill and mint and cumin look like. They're tiny herbs this big. And Jesus is saying, you pay attention to the smallest part so that you tithe out of your spice rack while you ignore the weightier matters of the law like justice and mercy. Because religion always focuses on the smallest detail and misses the point. He uses this hyperbole, this exaggeration. He says, this is what you're like. You take and strain a gnat, the smallest known animal in their world that was unclean, while swallowing a camel, the largest known animal that was unclean. So if a gnat falls in your tea, you grab your strainer to let it get out, and yet you swallow a camel whole. Because when you're in religion, you pay attention to the details, but you miss the point. Like, I'll give you an example. In John chapter 18, you don't have to turn there, but Jesus is brought on trial before Pilate. So what has happened? The religious leaders have grabbed Jesus. They've unjustly accused him. They've beat him mercilessly. They drag him before Pilate. They're going to kill God. But then John 18 says, but they would not enter Pilate's house lest they become unclean. That's how religion works. We're going to beat God to death. But we're not going to enter the Gentiles' house lest we become unclean before God. You're killing God, but you're going to pay attention to the smallest parts of the law. That's how religious people are. Religious people will be the most bitter, angry, racist people, judgmental, condemning, but they don't watch cable TV. And they don't cuss, and they don't swear, and they don't smoke. And Jesus says, you should pay attention to the lesser points of the law without neglecting the whole. Right? You've got to keep both. Jesus hates religion because religion pays attention to the details but misses the point. Sixth, we're almost done. Jesus hates religion because religion focuses on the externals but ignores the internals. Look at verse 25 through 28. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and the plate, that the outside also may be clean. Jesus hates religion because religion focuses on the externals while ignoring the internals. Religion can never get you to the heart of the problem. It's always fixed and focused on the outside. It's sort of like if you're in college and you live in a dorm with some friends, inevitably you're going to have Chinese food in the fridge that stays there a little past date, like 3 weeks in. And so a smell begins to fill your dorm room. This is what religion's like. Religion's like smelling that stench, grabbing your latex gloves, your soaps, your detergents, and scrubbing the heck out of the door. And washing the sides and wiping down the handles. And then you leave a few minutes later and the stench begins to fill the room. And so you get even deeper. And you scrub the door and you wipe the handles and you wipe down the sides. And you do that over and over and over again. Because religion is always fixed on the outside. Because until you open that door and deal with the junk that's inside, you will never fix it. But religion can only go so far. Religion is powerless for heart transformation because all religion can do is behavior modification. Religion can fix your behavior. If you've been in college, you know the attempt to stop swearing. So you and your buddies grab a jar, put it in the middle of the dorm room, and every time someone cusses, you've got to put in 25 cents or $1. By the end of the semester, you're broke, right? And if anything, it's fixed the words that you say because now you're smarter and have found better substitutes, right? It's never dealt with the fact that from your heart flows the junk that comes out of your mouth. Jesus is wise to that. Jesus says, for from the heart comes murders and adulteries and all the rest. Because religion is fixed on fixing your behavior, whereas the gospel deals with what's inside. The gospel alone changes not your behavior, but transforms your heart. The religion says, let me fix what's outside. The gospel says, create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me to